Chapter 2.
Join us.
Red, the color of boundless warmth, which breeds cozy feelings, a manifestation of love, the heart's strongest emotion. Perhaps you correlate the hue with anger. These are but three faces red gazes with. To me, red is pain. Red is agony. Red is a reminder that my birth was cursed from the start. I'd been condemned by the darkness even as I first drew breath. And I nearly died to it. However, my hopes weren't dashed. In fact, they came to life the moment I entered the arms of ire. I continued through the restful void, enjoyed every second of rest. A slight change in warmth perpetuated the serene dimension I thoroughly enjoyed. The delightful plain evolved into dreamy landscapes the likes of which I'd never seen before. The sunlight beckoned, forcing me to raise my paws and stretch. White weeds invaded a field of bright green, ruby red, and golden orange. After drawing out a pre-workout stretch, I plucked one of the ball-shaped weeds and examined its delicate form. The short group of stalks surrounding one point, like thin strands of cotton, intrigued me. I sniffed the natural wonder, barely gathering a whiff of anything other than a high-pitched sneeze. The sudden storm of air sent the many strands floating through the air, leaving the bulb stripped of any comfort. Their majestic flight boldened the wonder in my eyes as a smile flowered in place of my curiosity. They almost seemed to sparkle against the beautiful sun's rays before gliding away. Quick as the wind that carried them, I chased the white wonders across the colorful expanse. The flowers softly greeted each step I took. No matter how my paws pitter-pattered along the grass, the foliage never perished. Each plant appeared to welcome my presence, bending their stems away from me, granting passage to those detached seeds. Sadly, the seeds eventually vanished, but their dusty sparkles fell. Shiny as they were, the glints guided my eyes to a pool of water. My curiosity piqued once more. As I raised an ear and bent a brow, I kneeled before the still waters, studying my reflection. Distorted ripples obstructed my reflection, yet I understood every permutation. A pair of red-striped ears and antennae startled me as the realization kicked in. The strange red blotch was me. I never stopped to look at myself, but I bore stripes of red, 2 on each ear, 1 per antenna. The number itself didn't matter, though. What captivated me was the sense of unease they permeated. I nearly missed the rest of my features, such as my little purple nose, round-ended tail, or my fur jutting out from my cheeks. Realizing the existence of my tail, what attention I had swiftly snapped to it as I grasped the soft appendage. An odd catharsis slipped in. Ire refused my offer for a tail examination, so I enjoyed mine instead. Soft, almost squishy, and incredibly flexible, this new toy of mine gladdened me to striking levels. Of course, being careful was important. It was my tail, after all, so I opted not to squeeze too hard. Soon after, the sky communed with Dreary's atmosphere and faded into the dark of night. The fields joined the dreadful mood, and darkened as well. The flowers all perished in mere seconds, falling as if murdered by an unknown killer, and the water before me blackened like ink. I gasped into shivers and donned a newfound fear. The old may have perished in Ire's hands, but more spawned briskly. My fuzz stood tall from their light source. My once pure blue glow now transformed to cursed red, and faintly whispered unintelligible voices directly to my head.
Stop!
A voice spoke clearly, and unlike the eerie mumblers, it sounded real and familiar. It wasn't Ire's, and I hadn't met any other creature. The words reverberated, too, in a wisp-like fashion. It spoke again, as the red hue brightened with my burning stripes.
No! Stop it, please!
Identifying that voice seemed impossible. The echoed cadence didn't frighten me, yet the others did. It made me realize the only solution. This was my voice. How could I speak despite being an infant not too long ago? My introspection ended there. and my face greeted a pale, yellow-eyed creature with the darkest of greens surrounding their body. They stood as I did, with 2 legs and 3-toed paws. The creature kneeled down to my level, which ignited temperature as the glow burst. It burned, but not through fire. This overwhelming warmth only served to irritate and force me into submission. Submission which led me to stare into the now flesh-melting beast in front of me. Their eyes remained the same hopeful yellow, despite the horrid disfigurement. No matter the objections coming from my instincts, I simply couldn't back away. My eyes were transfixed on theirs, and the whispers formulated into legible words.
Why don't you run away for a minute?
My voice just recently found its footing, and expecting a newly born phenomenon to change the world on a dime was ridiculous. I screamed at myself to run, but the internal voice didn't travel its clear path. Thorns stood in its way, and prevented my logic and reason from working in tandem. Neither could get along, and as a result, I froze like the pool below me.
You're nothing but a bird. You're just a failure, like all the others.
My legs and arms practically forced movement on their own. A slow, receding crawl took the mantle I refused to wield. That quick burn stunted any hasty reactions, resulting in a sluggish movement. Unfortunately, this fiend rejected my escape and grabbed my shoulders.
You can't leave. I've only just begun, foolish child.
The logic and reason still fought like siblings and never came to a decision. My will to move also faltered and stayed still at the now partially bone-exposed beast. A gory sight quickly unfolded, almost completely disfiguring the foul presence. That is, until a new entity stepped forward and forced action out of me, the flight response.
Daddy, help me!
Immediately after the goopy form lunged towards me, ending the nightmare that invaded my once splendid dream. The beast turned out to not be the monster terrorizing my vision. In fact, it was the very moki I described earlier. A swamp-colored moki with hopeful eyes and soft fur that hugged me tightly.
It's all right, Luke. I've got you.
A similar dampness to the shore I rested on leaked from my skin, sweat cooling me to a discomforting chill. Being hugged by the one I called father aided in warming me after such a traumatic experience with images stabbed into this weary soul. Shivered breaths and desperate grasps were cast on this protective moki. I held him like a giant plush toy in my own cozy corner of this wooden structure. The room, despite the warmth of the sun's rays, could never compare to the tender flame my caretaker fanned in my time of need.
Remember, I'm only a room away. You don't need to face all of this alone. I didn't sing that lullaby without purpose, Luke.
The moki smiled, spreading such contagious feelings to me from eye to eye.
I know. I'm sorry.
You don't need to be sorry. Remember what I said all those years ago? Abba's here, and I'll always be here, little Luke.
To hear such endearing prospects nearly dried those moist worries away, but I still wished for one more thing to truly relax.
Could you,
Go on. You don't need to be afraid to ask, son. I knew this to be the case, though crippling anxiety had always been a steadfast weakness of mine. Being timid, too, flourished like the foul waters.
could you maybe, sing it again?
A pair of uncontrolled blue blush cheeks joined my stuttered speech, forming a cute combination my father clearly enjoyed.
Aw, Luke, I'm always happy to sing it. If it helps calm your nerves, I'll happily oblige.
My grasp on the world of vocabulary desired far greater understanding, but such change required long years of study.
Sorry. What I mean is, I'd be happy to sing it for you.
Yeah!
My excitement shined bright as the warm rays that warmed me through the window I sat near.
My little one, I'll be your light till the darkness fades. Rest here in my arms, little boy. Sleep, sleep, please. Rest your weary eyes, let your worries wane. Let your fears pass away without a trace.
Although the lyrics spoke of sleep, I'd already experienced it and merely wished to be reminded of the comfort Father promised me. Is that better?
Yeah. Thank you, Daddy.
You're welcome. Are you sure you're okay? That's the third time this week that awful event happened.
Ever since I was a baby, the stripes I'd worn weighed heavier than clouds filled with rain. The first night I slept with Abba, I'd been stricken with gross hallucinations. Everywhere I looked, twisted and corrupted. All the beings my eyes laid on warped into feral beasts, usually with tattered bodies and sludge-like flesh. The dead truly walked the earth, and I bore witness to their blighted words. All of this occurred following a signature crimson glow, which I described earlier as agony. That searing affliction breaks me down without fail, and only my father's embrace or his song turns the awful surroundings to dust.
I'm okay. I want to try
Practice?
yeah, practice for the race.
Luke, if you're feeling off, you don't have to do that. There'll always be next year.
I know, but that's so far away. I really want to race, Daddy.
All right, but first you 5 need to improve your hunting and gathering. There'll be time for racing later.
Okay.
Every year, a race between the children of this village takes place. It served as a test of our survival skills. However, it wasn't merely a straight trail to the end. Depending on your aptitude, you'd be assigned a trail catered to your skills. I honed a keen sense of climbing thanks to my surprisingly sticky paws. Tiny, invisible hairs laced along my hands and feet allowed me to traverse nearly any surface. Provided my stark fear of heights didn't kick in, I could go anywhere I wished to, within reason. I wanted to trial the course to see how well I fared against the other competitors, though Abba's training would inadvertently help. Before we walked through the circular door, my father grabbed 2 spears and passed one to me. Now being equipped, we walked out into the sun-bathed marsh. A vast, green hill surrounded by a trench which held murky waters carried a variety of small enclosures. Each one housed a moki of similar physique to Abba, and everyone labored different occupations. There were planters, gatherers, surveyors, water collectors, traders, and most importantly, defenders. The collection of these tasks formed a harmony within our circular enclosure of the marsh, known as the Ring. My dad worked as the lead of these defenders. Most of them were branded with scars, each one carrying its own lore, although in my 5 years here, I'd heard them all, albeit sugar-coated for this innocent mind. Defenders were a proud bunch. It was to the point Abba seemed to be the sole bearer of any humility.
Luke, are you coming?
Sorry.
All my introspection aside, I ran to my father's side and readied for today's task. Up ahead, a very distinct band of kits, the name for the child moki, stood impatiently sharing banter. I'd come to know this group of friendly faces rather fondly as I grew up. Mrock was the uninitiated leader of our ragtag band. He was the tallest after all. It only made sense, even if Mick, the fluffy-armed one, wasn't fully on board. Mrock also wore an aggressive-looking necklace. There were no beads or hanging jewels, just a string of many teeth. The small fangs, only shown up by 2 larger ones, came from glowing beasts called glowbiters, or GBs for short. Mrock didn't obtain these himself. His father gave it to him as a gift, and ever since, he'd never removed it, even in his sleep. Ironically, he complained about them tickling his neck during his bedtime. Regardless, he refused to remove it. I've never known why. Mick, only identified by his strangely coated arms, was the cocky one. If there was a fight to be had, he'd be the first to jump. Abba, being our teacher, often restrained his hot-footed attitude. The 5 of us were only children, so Mick's apparent combat experience, or lack thereof, compared to that of a wolf cub. Blind punches and incredibly predictable. Mia's caution, only rivaled by mine, led her down paths that second-guessed one another. What if we get hurt? Or what if this is poisonous? She and I related on a level they never understood, except one. Mimi. Gentle, graceful, and considerate. She always listened to me, and despite being the youngest, didn't treat me less than them. She and Mia carried around wooden flutes and played such wonderful melodies despite their novice experience. Mimi also abated arguments frequently. She listened, not just to me, but others. Her keen ears earned her the role of scout in our hunts. However, a trait we especially shared was our aversion to fights. My hands seized up when conflict presented itself, and Mimi outright refused any bouts she deemed unnecessary. That very characteristic is what the 4 of them argued over as we approached.
Why? It hasn't done anything to us.
Yes, they have. They literally overran the forest, and now we have to sneak around.
He does have a point.
So? We have to share this world with other creatures, not just us. Share it, yes. Submit to their savage whims, no. Mick advocated for aggression, while Mimi wished to avoid altercations. Mia, on the other hand, caught herself in the middle. Abba and I lacked the context for such inconsequential bickering, though knowing these 3 made it easy for Father to shut down the operation.
All right, enough, you two.
Several ears perked up as they gasped and looked at us.
I won't have all this arguing during the hunt. Remember.
Abba stood silently, panning his face across the 4 of them. He appeared to be waiting for an answer. Dad repeated a solitary phrase ad nauseum every time we'd approach the depths of our marsh-bound terrain. It became a predictable platitude, and may as well have been confused for a local anthem. A group of begrudged youths sighed and replied, "Silence is key to survivability." The stern eyes faded and made room for an approved smile.
Good. All right, today we're on dribbler duty. This is Luke's first time doing this, so make sure you 4 teach him how.
I watched as Mick rolled his eyes, barely hiding the defiance.
Mick, is that how you intend to respond to your leader if you become a defender someday?
Abba's eyes locked onto Mick, almost intimidating the disobedient child.
No, but
Sir, we can't always walk around without defending ourselves. All the other grown-ups have said the GBs are growing in number. Getting food is a lot harder now. Discontent eyes trailed off, and in exchange, worry and uncertainty expressed themselves.
I understand your concerns, Mick. You're right. Life is harder, but you are only children. We are not sending you to handle these threats on your own. Keep each other safe and act as necessary. Us, defenders, will call the population as we always have. Do you understand?
yes, sir.
Mick's demeanor flipped over to happier pages in this worrisome tale.
Okay then, everyone take your spears. It's picking time.
Cold, damp air merged with squishing sounds of mud underfoot, as well as thinly veiled fog coagulated into an atmosphere fitting for such a foreboding place. The outer ring barely spoke a vowel, only loudly exclaiming to our footsteps in the grouse terrain. Mild, airy sounds occasionally passed by, acting as an introduction to the many critters that echoed throughout the expanse. Irritating insects, various fish, and birds prowled throughout the land, yet none of those prolific jeebies stalked or snarled. Abba said they'd likely be hiding in their own huddles elsewhere around this time. My worries settled a tad upon hearing the good news. I'd only seen these woods once, as a baby, when Abba carried me from those horrific shores 5 years ago. Memory was a fickle thing, especially for those days, though I vividly remembered the surprising chill in the air, as well as the foggy atmosphere. Ever since then, Abba forbade me from entering the treacherous bog. I understood why. I certainly didn't wish to wander into unsavory places. Today appeared to be defiant of those old principles.
Watch out, Luke!
The chill bloomed ever stronger as sudden instructions rushed my anxiety across my shores and froze the waves. Mrock, being the leading type, took responsibility and taught me about a dangerous hazard before us. That bunch of mud is not where you want to step. See how dark it is? I nodded as I studied the malicious patch. If you stepped in that, you might start to sink.
I've been there. It's not fun. If you thought clearing the muck off was bad now, you'll be cleaning yourself for far longer if you fall in one of those mud drops. That's what we call them. Mick, on the other hand, decided to tempt fate and ignore Mrock's clear warning. Come on, Mrock, lighten up a little. We could just jump over it like this. Pride dressed Mick's valiant efforts as he jumped across the potential pit of mud. Fortunately for him, he made it, without so much as a splash of mud to his name. Abba's discontent crashed Mick's cheerful demonstration. Mick, don't be so reckless. You've no idea how large that mud drop is.
Aw, come on, Abba. Just say I did a good job.
Quiet, foolish child. We're not at home anymore. Mick's comeuppance for such irresponsible actions came in a splash of mud. Mud drops occasionally came with their own bag of tricks, namely soaking the surrounding terrain, leaving only the foliage as if nothing changed. Mick became an unfortunate victim of this. His footing instantly plummeted into the earth, leaving only his upper half exposed. An ensemble of laughter erupted and echoed in all directions.
I didn't think you could top the last time you tried jumping ahead, but wow. Dude, your fur's gonna get so stiff later.
Despite Abba's clear instruction to Mick, they all seemed rather lost in their own fog, and only cleared the air when Father yanked them from its grasp. Shh! Quiet! We're not at home! Mick, give me your paw.
No, I got it. Mick, come now. It's not time for— You're not my dad. I can get out by myself.
Abba humored him this time. Why he'd trust this clearly rebellious decision was confusing, until Mick's lack of strength shined light on our teacher's reasoning. Need a hand?
I said I got it!
Mick's feeble attempts to free his hind legs from the muck were nothing but transparent masks. Try as he might, he'd never get free from his captor. Finally, he conceded, and Abba plucked him from its heavy embrace before kneeling to his height. You can't do everything alone. I'm no father of yours, but I am someone who cares. Don't lean on your own shoulders all the time. In times as poor as these, remember to stand tall, stand together. The kit reluctantly nodded and followed Father's lead as he directed us forward. That goes for all of you. Commit that to memory. I didn't fully understand the words. I tried recounting it numerous times, yet I earned zero knowledge. I'd been muttering bits and pieces of the phrases, which caught Abba's reassuring ear. Little Luke, there's no need to stress about it. I'm not testing your memory. My desire is merely for you to remember their meaning so that you can apply it going forward.
Aren't we already working as one? Everyone in the ring does a good job, and we don't fight against one another. At least, not seriously.
Mia appeared as confused as I. Although I initially didn't understand the meaning, her inquiry assisted in my inept understanding. Not everyone thinks the same way we do. We're in support of each other. There are also other tribes out there who abide by similar beliefs. Sadly, there's one that lost its way a long time ago. The thought of other tribes fascinated me, though a more prominent thought clouded the other. A tribe that wouldn't fight read like a fictitious novel, and Mimi corroborated my line of thinking.
How do you know? We haven't left the Outer Ring.
That merchant, Moki, has been all over Zoe. He made a delivery to us recently, in fact. He told me that corrupt town opposes our way of life to this day. Most of the residents there converted to a life of racist rhetoric. They've been that way for years. According to Moki, such a transformation occurred because of their leader, Affleck. The name sent chilling travelers down our spines and rippled through the fur like the wind. I don't know much about him. Even when we could safely leave this place, the furthest I've been is Aegis Field. In short, he's a brutal moki, and he doesn't approve of anyone not like him. I say to you, stand tall, stand together, stand up and fight as one. Don't turn into what they've chosen. Besides, you'll need teamwork to harvest those berries up ahead. A timely end to our rather foreboding discussion came in the form of yellow, mint-green spotted berries hanging from dark trees. Strangely, they also flaunted a singular spike, thin as thorns, at the very bottom. All right, Mick. To make up for your errors earlier, you'll be in charge of teaching Luke. The rest of you, be careful as always. Let's get picking. With huddled arms and meticulous steps, I departed from my dad's side to Mick's. Being greeted by a facepalm and a sigh did wonders for my apprehension. I almost wanted to return to the other side of this line of attitudes. What abated my ever-growing anxiety was a great sense of curiosity. Among the 4 kits, our fluffy-armed miscreant harbored the most unknowns. The furthest my knowledge stretched was a shallow puddle of names and a brazen pride.
Okay, all we have to do is reach up and grab the berry by the stem.
I barely heard a sentence before a diversion muffled their moody explanation. In the midst of their demonstration, their extra coating of fur around the arms captivated me. My thinking capacity had all filled up with those arms. I only managed to formulate one thought from it. Yet, it was all I cared about.
My eyes are up here.
My cares suddenly cramped on the shelf while a new focus occupied the majority of the room.
Sorry, I think your arms are really cool looking.
He raised an ear, as well as a brow. We'd known each other for a few years, so such a statement arrived far later than sensible. In truth, I was too nervous to bring up the real point of inquiry.
Thanks, I guess. Were you listening?
Yeah. Something about grabbing the stem?
Ugh. Just don't grab the body. Only the stem, okay?
Okay. Sorry.
It's okay. Let's just grab these marsh dribblers and get moving.
Being a spirit comes with many perks, though many weaknesses too. My height only ever towered over the many bugs and small plants of the earth. Despite our toe-bound stance, we often failed to achieve a height greater than that of the moki. Their scout-like posture ensured a height a meager boy like me could never hope to reach. Nevertheless, I attempted reaching for the stem, per Mick's directive. Try as I might, I never reached the pesky anchor point. Neither jumps nor tiptoed strains brought me any closer to the spotted fruit. It practically taunted me, and my poor tummy growled as I continued to gaze upon the elusive prize. It was then I realized the error of my ways. These paws were equipped with quite the impressive climbing prowess, so why not use them, I thought. Thankfully, the tree's stubbier build meant the height couldn't withhold my urge to grasp the colorful treat. Slowly, but surely, I scaled the relatively short tree. I pinched the berry stem and pulled it from the branch.
I got one!
I could have jumped for joy if the quiet weren't so important.
Yeah, you did all right, but watch this!
The moki leaped to the tree's body, found his footing, and leapt for another berry. The brave act raptured me into an awestruck gasp. I, once again, felt rather impressed until his feet failed to stick the landing.
Mick, keep your voice down. Your stunts are going to get us...
Abba stopped as his ear flicked. My antenna too sensed a disturbance in the air. Another unique trait to us spirits were our antennae, which acted similar to an insect's. Mine vibrated akin to a silent buzz, and under the circumstances, I attributed it to an unknown presence nearby. Father silently signaled each of us to hide behind some thicker foliage. A fortuitous group of bushes rustled against the sudden wind chill and masked our hasty concealment. The unknown adored playing with its prey. It always prowled in the dark, hoping for its next unsuspecting meal to traipse by and sting the victim with uncontrolled fear. It slurped the fluid emotion with ease, and now it soaked me with its leftovers, seasoning me with terror. Silence. A deafened silence carried on the fog as thin streams of air distorted its once wholesome shape and further contorted as a blue, clawed paw stepped in front of our hideaway. A loud gasp nearly left Mia, though Abba quickly concealed it and gave it a silent-fingered shush. Mick had always put on a brave face. He showed many stunts in my life, and despite their many failures, he never let go of that pride. Now that will wavered, lost its way to the fog. The substitute the unknown always yearned for arrived and overtook whatever resolve he had left. The same could be said for the other kids, as well as me. However, for me, I lost it completely. Sensing the sheer hopelessness in the air, and hearing whatever slobbering beast sniffed the air beyond this feeble bush broke me.
What do I do? How are we getting home? What is this thing?
Cold sweats, passionate tears sank into the damp floor below. My eyes tightly sealed, my tail furled around my ankles, and these hands quaked against the folded ears. I'd always had moments where getting hurt scared me, where heights sank my heart below the depths. Maybe a crack of lightning threw me into a bald state of panic. None of these could compare to the depths the drooling beast dropped me. Every drop of spit that defiled the already muck-plastered floor served as a reminder that our scent may have been all too obvious, and we may very well be tonight's dinner.
The compiled list bred a familiar phenomenon once Mimi placed her paw on mine. A violent gasp Abba couldn't stifle escaped and welcomed a world of malformed figured and layered voices that boggled the mind.
Luke, it's okay.
I'm here for you.
A sinister laugh crept behind me. I turned, and before my eyes, Rock smiled, unveiling a pair of fangs dripping with a purple substance.
We'll always be here for you.
My once skilled leader started violently tugging on my ears.
Ouch, stop it!
I yanked away and tripped on my tail into the mud floor below. Gross layers of muck obstructed my tear-filled eyes, and even as I rubbed them free, the world had one more sick, twisted joke to tell. No amount of electric binds could still my unbridled urge to scream. Everything already set my panic levels to the precipice, but this bloodthirsty monster dropped me over the edge, and I cried for the only voice I knew could carry me.
Daddy!
It was this call that brought the creature down into an abyss of no return. Bright yellow blood spilt and sprayed from the fresh spear wound right in the neck of the hissing sniffer. It was then I noticed my signature red glow showed its deceptive face. I realized all I'd seen was an illusion. That simply didn't matter, though. What flashed before my eyes in these past moments continued to play in my head, like echoes in a cave, and when the spear wielder lifted me from the ground and into their arms, I witnessed the worst of these horrors.
It's all right, little Luke.
I'm here.
Bloodshot eyes, moon-white teeth, and a missing ear festered into what was my father's cruel new form. I kicked, screamed, begged to be let go, but it never ended. Not even sealed eyes protected me against my mind's twisted nature. I was lost in the fog, and through the fog, my energy sapped and fed the unknown.
Let me go! Please stop!
Why would I do that?
It's just me. I won't hurt you.
Stop using his voice!
Join us.
Frightful voices of an otherworldly sort washed out any semblance of a normal moki. This feral wretch sought only to bring me to a point of complete submission, and though I refused, a mighty sense of exhaustion always wins in the end. I'd expended all my resources, and coupled with great hunger, I collapsed in the beast's arms. A snap of time passed and woke me into a jarred state of being. I couldn't remember what happened last. Everything was fuzzy, and my panted breath certainly didn't help. Luckily, a point of solace spawned from the soft and fluffy lap I rested in. I rubbed my eyes and cleared the air, bringing the room I rested in to light. It was my room, and the furry lap belonged to Abba.
Luke! Are you all right?
Groggy eyes and lethargic kinetic functions prevented my speaking motivations, so I merely nodded. Good. Very good. Slow as I was, I could still feel a great wave of relief in my dad's eyes and breathy speech. This was furthered by his loving nuzzles he gave to my forehead, as I smiled, ear to ear. My other Moki companions, who I didn't even notice, enthusiastically offered their own words of appreciation.
Luke, I'm so glad you're okay. We thought you were a goner.
Are you sure you're okay? Of all the kits there, singing their passions and concerns aloud, one appeared to be missing, at least until Abba goaded him out of hiding.
Mick, is there something you'd like to say?
The missing Moki found his way into the room, head low as the sunset and eyes guilty as my traumatic visions. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I didn't mean for that to happen. Can you forgive me? Without a second thought, I replied, with more than just a nod this time.
Yeah, I don't
Blame, Luke.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
A shared form of embarrassment between the two of us involved rubbing our necks with our hands and blushing profusely. I'm glad you let go of your pride, Mick. Now, with Luke awake,
I believe I owe you all a story. Perhaps the story of Ori would suffice?
the room flowered into a field of excitement and eager ears.
Yeah!
All right. Listen, and listen well, children.
We'd all heard the story dozens of times before, yet it never grew old. Mick always anticipated hearing of Ori's many elegant swings as he wielded a blade of light. Mrock eagerly awaited to hear of his decisive victories over decay. Mia and Mimi loved the more wholesome parts of the story, whereas I adored his bravery and willingness to give compassion to his enemies. However, you aren't here to hear Ori's lengthy journey. I'm sure there are other means for you to witness the bittersweet tale. Towards the end of the prolific journey, a new curiosity built up as we went on. I knew next to nothing about Abba, and after noticing a few basic scribblings on a rock beneath the window, the origins of said marks intrigued me.
Daddy?
Yes, son?
Who made those drawings?
I directed his attention to the small stone, though his reaction lessened the cheery atmosphere of such an epic tale.
Ah, that is a tragedy. I couldn't possibly tell that one.
Mick and Mimi weren't content with this answer.
Aw, come on. Now we have to know. I'm sure it'll be okay, sir. We've heard lots of stories from you.
Yes, but this is beyond
Mere discomfort. I simply don't want to discuss it.
But Abba!
Mick, privacy is something to be respected. I ask that you do so now, young one.
Okay, fine.
Abba's surprising objections to the whole thing startled me. I felt rather guilty bringing it up to begin with.
I'm sorry, Daddy.
The lessened joy thankfully returned to a warmer state with his smile and a few stroked pats to my head.
Don't be. You're not wrong for being a little curious, Luke.
Abba panned his eyes over to the window, which encouraged me to follow the leader. Night had fallen, and so did our recreational time.
All right, everyone. It's time for a good night's rest. You all run along home now.
A resounding moan in word form disagreed. Mrock tried to strike a deal.
Aw, couldn't we stay here for the night?
Nice try. Your parents would chew me out if I did that without their permission. You'd likely use that time to ignore your much-needed rest, silly.
Mrock's visceral gasps confirmed his suspicion.
I thought so. Go on, get a move on. You'll have plenty of time to run around and play tomorrow. Remember, the race is in a week, so we'll be training more in the coming days. You can all enjoy tomorrow as a day off, all right?
Yes, sir!
We all replied with varied emotes before Abba sent them on their way and put me to rest in my comfy bed of grass and other such foliage. Late into the night, a voice invaded my sleep-bound mind. Hints of a sorrowful sort accompanied their words.
Why doesn't anyone hear me? I'm sorry for what I did. Please hear me. Please.
Yet another crept through, dissolving the other to dust, while rending my sleep. Not a sign of sorrow accompanied them, only a scratched tone and malicious intent.
You're no child. You're nothing but a curse. She'll never hear you.
A moment of peace was all I asked for. A night to rest and forget all I endured hours before. Yet decay still fought to ruin me from within.
Leave me alone!
Join us.
The same song and dance occurred, the only difference being that I didn't see anything. Only felt unbridled burning sensations that struck from within. No scars or physical lesions revealed themselves, just an unnerving sense of agony. In time, Abba came over and comforted me, carried me from the awful state, and arrested the foul phantoms that scorned my existence. The lullaby wasn't necessary here, but his tender voice spoke like a song. 3 times in a single day was the most I'd ever felt these dreadful burns, and heard the evil murmurs. Abba always worried for me, but tonight firmly founded his desire to look for the solution within the bounds of our understanding. A particular suggestion inspired the most confidence. Tomorrow evening, we'll visit that tree on the hill. It's an ancestral tree. It's been dark for years, but maybe you're the key to lighting it again. How does that sound? I had no reason to object to his idea. Despite living in Zoe, I knew very little about the spirits here. All Abba told me was that they fell to decay. This may have been my chance to learn even a little.
That sounds good. If it will help me, I'm okay with it.
Good. I'll come get you when it's time. For now, get some rest. I'll be right here to keep you safe, little Luke.